Hello everyone. In this video, I'm going to demonstrate you how do we create Jenkins pipeline for Terraform deployments. I'm going to create an EC2 instance to set up the Jenkins. Then I will show you how to do Terraform CI/CD deployments in Jenkins. Quickly log into AWS Management Console, launch instance. I will be choosing all default options for now. Let me choose the instance type, the default networking settings, default storage, the default tags. Let me add port number 8080 where the Jenkins is listening by default. Review and launch. Launch the instance. Let me choose the key pair. Launch instances. Alright, the server is in running state. Let me take the public IP address and logging into the server using PuTTY. Let me attach the private key for authentication. The key is dpt2-demo. Click on open. Logging into the server with ec2-user. Switch to the root account. Well, so now I need to set up the Jenkins. Let me go to the Jenkins official portal to download the Jenkins binary. Jenkins download. Let me go to jenkins.io. Let me choose the OS distribution. Let me copy the commands to set up the Jenkins repository. The latest Jenkins is expecting the EPEL repository to be available. Quickly, I'm going to install the EPEL repository. EPEL-y. The Jenkins is expecting the Java 11 as a prerequisite. Let me install Java 11. Java 11 package is available as part of Amazon Extras repository. Let me use the command Amazon Linux Extras install Java 11. Once Java 11 is installed, then I can install a Jenkins package. Alright, the Java 11 is ready. Now let me install Jenkins. Yum install Jenkins-y. Alright, Jenkins package is successfully installed. Let me start the service. Service Jenkins start. Now let me access the Jenkins console. Take the IP address of the EC2 instance. Go to the browser. IP address :8080. Alright, I need to get the initial password to unlock the Jenkins. Let me copy the location from where I can get the default password. Let me get the default admin password. Let me go back and provide the admin password. Continue. So I will be installing the suggested plugins. Great. For now, I don't need any additional Jenkins users. Skip and continue. Save and finish. Start using Jenkins. Good that we have a Jenkins machine ready. Now we need to set up the pipeline to run Terraform deployments. This is where I will be taking you guys to the Visual Studio Code, where I have the Terraform code already written to deploy AWS resources. Well, I have the Terraform code ready to deploy the AWS resources for VPC, Lambda, EC2. In this exercise, I'm going to take VPC code to deploy the VPC networking components in AWS Cloud. Terraform code is already written to deploy the VPC resources, and we need a Jenkins pipeline to run Terraform init, plan, and apply commands to do the deployments. First, let me commit this Terraform code to the Bitbucket repository to keep the Terraform code base. Let me take a terminal. Well, git status. There are few changes to the Terraform VPC project. Git add, git commit, VPC code changes. Git push origin master. Let me specify the password for authenticating the Bitbucket repository. Now the Terraform code base is successfully committed to the Bitbucket repository. Now to create a Jenkins pipeline, we should write a Jenkins pipeline as a code. I have the another repository which is under the Jenkins where the Terraform CI/CD pipeline code is written. You could see that the Jenkins file is available in the Terraform CI/CD pipeline folder in the Jenkins repository. This is the declarative pipeline that is written to run Terraform init, plan, and deployments. At high level, checkout SCM stage has the details from which branch the Terraform code has to be cloned and which credentials that the Jenkins should use while cloning the Bitbucket repository and the Bitbucket repository where the Terraform code is available. Currently, I have committed the Terraform code to the Terraform repository and have mentioned the repository URL here. That is great. And the next stage is all about setting the Terraform path from where the Terraform binary can be installed. The next stage is all about running the Terraform init command. This is where Jenkins has to authenticate with AWS to run the Terraform init command to initialize the S3 backend. So I am using with AWS function to authenticate with the AWS using the IAM role. This is the syntax to use the IAM role as a authentication methodology to connect it to the AWS through the APIs to run the Terraform commands. Interesting thing here is the VPC code is available in the VPC folder in the Bitbucket repository, right? So when I am writing the declarative pipeline to run the Terraform commands, the Terraform commands will be running from the VPC folder itself. That is where we are using the dir function to let Jenkins know that the command should run from the VPC folder itself. Once the init is completed, then we will be running the Terraform plan and saving the plan to a file. Even now, I am using the with AWS function to authenticate with the AWS APIs using the IAM role on my specific account. This Terraform plan command will execute the plan and saving the plan into plan.out file. Even the Terraform plan command also executed from the VPC folder as I have the VPC related code base is in the VPC folder. Once the plan is successfully ran and the plan is available, even it is possible to mention the stage asking for the user input before it actually apply the plan. In the declarative pipelines, the input function is used to ask for the user input to proceed with the next stages. Once the user is provided the approvals to proceed for the deployments, then the next stage Terraform apply will run. The Terraform apply will be running on the plan that was saved in the previous stage with -auto-approve flag so that there will be no interactive approvals required. It assumes that the plan is pre-approved and the plan will be executed and the resources will be deployed in the AWS account. Terraform output command is to display the output of the resources that are deployed in this project. Even the Terraform apply commands also executing from the VPC folder with the help of the IAM role. In this declarative pipeline, I am using with AWS function to get the IAM role authentication, the role which is attached to the EC2 instance itself where the Jenkins is running. Hence, I am using use node flag as true. That means the IAM role that is attached to the Jenkins EC2 instance is used as a authentication mechanism to authenticate with the AWS APIs. To use the with AWS function, we need to install the required plugins in Jenkins. Even with respect to the Terraform binary, we are using the Terraform plugins to set up the Terraform binary and updating the Terraform installation path to the environment variable to run the Terraform commands. That means to deploy the Terraform project using Jenkins CI/CD pipeline, we should have a plan which plugins that we need to have and which tools that we need to configure, which credentials that we need to supply during the Jenkins pipeline execution. When we look into the plan, I have already drafted the required details to set up the Jenkins pipeline code. We are using pipeline AWS steps plugin to configure the IAM credentials to authenticate with AWS during the Terraform execution. We are using a Terraform plugin itself to configure the Terraform binary. We are using the Git plugin to clone the Bitbucket repository and the credentials plugin to store the Bitbucket credentials. From the tool perspective, we need to configure the Terraform tool that will let Jenkins know how to run the Terraform binary commands. From AWS authentication perspective, we are using IAM role-based authentication and specifying the IAM role that is attached to the Jenkins EC2 itself to use for the AWS authentication while Terraform commands are executed. And we need to add the credentials of the Bitbucket repository to the credential store. So this is explaining the plan that we should have in hand before we go and write the Jenkins file, as well as configuring the Jenkins pipeline to run the Terraform deployments. Good that we have the code already committed to the Bitbucket repository. Now we have the Jenkins pipeline code that is ready to run the Terraform CI/CD pipeline. Let me commit this Jenkins file as well to the Bitbucket repository. Let me navigate to the Jenkins folder, git status. The Jenkins file is modified. Git add, git commit, Jenkins file added, git push origin master. Let me specify the Bitbucket password. Remember that the Terraform codebase in different Bitbucket repository and the Jenkins pipeline code is in the different Bitbucket repository. Now the code has successfully committed to the Bitbucket repository. Now if I go back to the Bitbucket repository, I can see the Jenkins repository which is holding the Jenkins pipeline code in the respective folder. Good. And if I go back to the Terraform repository, in the Terraform repository under the VPC folder, I could see the VPC specific deployment Terraform files are located. Now this is the time to configure the Jenkins to run the pipeline. Let me go back to the Jenkins. As per the plan, first we need to install the required plugins. Manage Jenkins, manage plugins, available tab, search for the plugin called AWS Steps. Select the plugin, install without restart. Let's wait for some time until this plugin is successfully installed. Alright, the plugin is successfully installed. Let me go back to the top page. Again, manage Jenkins, manage plugins, available tab, search for Terraform plugin. Select the plugin, install without restart. Let's wait for some time until the Terraform plugin is installed. It's done. Go back to the page. As per the plan, the credentials plugin and the Git plugin are already installed. So I need not to install the remaining two plugins. Now I need to configure the Terraform tool. Let me do that. Navigate to the Manage Jenkins, Global Tool Configuration, Add Terraform, specify the tool name. I am using the tool name as Terraform. I want to install Terraform automatically from the bin tray. I have to choose Linux 64-bit compatibility OS distribution. Click on Apply Save. Alright, now as per the plan, let me add the Bitbucket repository credentials to the Jenkins credentials store. Go back to Manage Jenkins, Manage Credentials, Global Credentials, Add Credentials, specify the username. I have the username and password listed in my plan. Let me take the username. Let me specify the password. Let me specify the ID as Git. Let me specify the description. Click on OK. Alright, now at finally, as per the plan, we should have a IAM role attached to the Jenkins machine to authenticate with AWS. Let me go ahead and create a IAM role. Go back to AWS Management Console. Let me navigate to IAM service. If you do not have any clue about how to use AWS services, please do check out my other courses. Click on IAM role, create a role, select the entity, trusted entity type as EC2. For now, let me grant administrator access for this role. You can fine-tune the permissions by using a custom policies as well. Let me specify the role name, Jenkins role. DPT Jenkins role. Create a role. Excellent. The IAM role is created. Now the role has to be attached to the Jenkins EC2 instance so that all the jobs that are running in that Jenkins machine can use this IAM role permissions to authenticate with AWS APIs. Let me select the Jenkins EC2 instance, go to Security, modify IAM role, specify the role from the drop down, which is DPT Jenkins role, save the role. Now we need to update the Jenkins pipeline code accordingly. In the Jenkins declarative pipeline code, I have mentioned that the Terraform code has to be cloned from master branch, should use the Jenkins Git credentials from the credential store and clone the code from the Bitbucket repository. And I have mentioned that the Terraform tool name here to get the Terraform binary to run the Terraform commands. And I have mentioned that with AWS function, which is available as part of the AWS steps pipeline plugin, the AWS account ID, and we need to specify the role name that it has to assume to get the permissions. So let me replace the role name here, as I have just created a role with the different name. So that is I'm just adjusting here. As I have done some changes to the pipeline code, let me commit the changes back to the Bitbucket repository. Git commit -m IAM role modified. Git push origin master. Let me get my Bitbucket password, and I need to supply the password to commit to the Bitbucket repository. Well, we are all done, guys. Let me now set up Jenkins pipeline job. Go back to the Jenkins, click on a new item, specify the job name. Let's say Terraform VPC deployment. The type of the job is pipeline. Click on OK. Just scroll down. Specify that the pipeline code is available in which Bitbucket repository. Select the option as Git. Then specify the Bitbucket repository from where the Jenkins file has to be cloned. Let me get the Bitbucket repository URL from the Bitbucket. Let me go to the Jenkins repository. Let me click on clone option, and this is the repository that it has to clone, or it has to get the Jenkins file. Let me take this repository URL, go back to the Jenkins, specify the repository URL name. It has to use the Bitbucket logins to clone this Bitbucket repository to get the Jenkins file. Yeah, you can see that the clone is failing because it requires a Git package to be available on the Jenkins machine. Let me go to the Jenkins machine and install the Git binary. Yum install git-y. Once the Git is installed, let me go back to the Jenkins and let me try to access the Bitbucket repository with the credentials that we have added in the credential store. Now it is good. Scroll down. The which branch that it has to clone to get the Jenkins file, and what is the file name to get the pipeline code. So Jenkins file is the file name from where it has to get the pipeline code. However, the Jenkins file is available in the respective folder. So we need to specify from which folder it has to look through to get the Jenkins file. Let me specify the folder name as a complete path to get the Jenkins file. Alright, now we are done configuring the Jenkins pipeline job to get the Jenkins file from the Bitbucket repository. The Jenkins file has all the details, all the stages to run the Terraform deployments. Once the job is ready, now we can just build the Jenkins pipeline job. Just click on build now. I could see the build is scheduled and the pipeline job is now running. You could see that the first it is executing the stage checkout SCM to clone the Bitbucket repository to get the Terraform code base locally to the Jenkins. then running Terraform path command to set the Terraform binary, then the Terraform init to initialize the backend, Terraform plan to create the plan, and it is now waiting for the approvals. Once we validate the plan and we think that everything looks great, then we can provide an approval to proceed for executing the next stages to do the actual deployment. Now you can see after giving the approval, the Terraform apply stage is now getting executed. That is where the actual resources will be get deployed into AWS. Wonderful. I could see the pipeline job is successfully ran to deploy the Terraform resources. Go to the job number 1, click on console output to see what exactly happened. Right? First it is cloning the Bitbucket repository, then running the Terraform init command, then creating the plan. Once you validate the plan and if it looks good, then we can provide a approval using the input function that we have used in the declarative pipelines. Of course, it is optional whether it has to ask for approvals or directly proceed for doing the deployments. And once the deployment is done, we could see that the resources that are created in this particular deployment as part of the Terraform output. Thank you watching for this video. This video has explained you how to integrate a Terraform deployments in the Jenkins using a pipeline code. And it's very important to go through the documentation of AWS steps plugin. If we navigate through AWS steps plugin documentation and just browse through with AWS function, this documentation explains what are the different other ways are there to authenticate with AWS. The method that I have used is using the role-based access, where you can see the syntax available here. So it explains to use the IAM role as a assume role on this account, which is attached to the node level. But you can see there are few other methods also there to authenticate with the AWS. It's worthy to explore this documentation if you are not using a IAM role to authenticate with AWS APIs. Thank you for watching this video. Please do subscribe learning to get more updates on AWS and DevOps technology.